Hey, welcome back to the channel. This is Anka Engineering and I'm Herman Wiegman. And it's been a few weeks since my last video. I've been busy doing actually a bunch of LSD replacements and upgrades for enthusiasts. And I've extended that range, and so I'll cover that in the video. The other thing I wanted to give though was an update. A lot of you asked about how the Y-pipe job went and any issues that I may have had. So we'll talk about that, the Y-pipe replacement, the supercharger coupler replacement, as well as the Symposer delete. So I'll give you an update there. And finally, I wanted to address the rusting in the V section of my F-type V6 engine. And so I've developed rain diverters that go underneath the vents to divert the water away from the V section. So that's today's video. Let's get stuck in. So I thought I'd just give an update on how the Y-pipe job did. So let's take a detailed view at a lot of the elements that were changed and how they're doing now. First off, I wanted to point out that the metal pipes are great. They're not leaking, there's no fluid anywhere, and everything seems to be working great in terms of the new replacement pipes. And you can also see that the hose clamps all fell into place and nothing is leaking there, and these little connections here are also in place. So it turned out pretty well. On this side of the engine, we can also see that I took off the foam, I'll call it cam cover noise, and yeah, it's just really a noise deadening material. And I've removed that, so I do hear a little bit more ticky-ticky from the fuel injectors, but that's okay for me. Moving back here, I know some of you had some issues. Here is the a vacuum source for the intake manifold, and right next to it is the plug for the, I think it's a manifold air pressure and maybe even a temperature sensor. Some of you had trouble with that connector and said that the wires got pulled out. So I'm proud of you for being able to buy a pigtail from the used car parts store and then graft that in and to make that connection again. Here we can see the silver crossover pipe in the back here. And that's beautiful, not leaking at all. And of course this hose here is, you can see that's the hose that runs underneath the manifold and has to be unclipped when removing the supercharger. That worked out well too. You'll notice something is missing though, the Symposer. Basically the Symposer down here is gone, and there's a lot more room down here, a lot more open space, and there's no risk of the Symposer failing or the plastic cracking and causing a massive vacuum leak. If I come over here, we can see the Symposer blanking plate that I developed. You can get those both from Raptor Customs in the UK or VAP here in the US. Both sell a blanking kit, which is essentially this plate, this plug here or cap, and what else? And usually a plug or a cap for the hose that goes in here. Now I use something a little bit more novel. I think it was a cork from a bottle, but that's just to plug off the interior so that no moisture or extra sound goes in there anymore. So that's good. And my car looks a little bit different than maybe yours because I also have a clutch bleeding point here in the back that's very easy accessible now without the Symposer in the way, so that's nice. And on the other side of the engine, anything different there? Yeah, my car's a little different because I have a positive crankcase ventilation oil catch can that cut into the right-hand side positive crankcase ventilation hose or pipe. So that's a little different on my car as well. Okay. Turned out great. The belts in the front are working well. There's no squeal from the new belts, the supercharger and the accessory drive belt on this car, so that's great. So overall, I'm very pleased. The Y-pipe job turned out great, and also I've been able to go to the track and have a great experience on the track with this new setup, so I feel confident. The one thing that does come through is we did change the supercharged pulley, and the coupler here at the end of the snout was changed with a solid coupler, which does transfer some more, I would say, supercharger whine into the car. So I do hear that now when pulling away. It's actually pleasant. It's not too overbearing. wanted to share with you 4 other YouTube video series, and I put the links in the description above. The first one is Ryan Bengal, who's a great DIY, works out of his driveway, very resourceful and practical, very helpful videos. I enjoy them. The second is TCnParadise, great Southern humor. He works on his XF Jaguar, and he also has great tool tips, so worth the watch. Hachem the Mechanic, very efficient, always learning new tricks from him. So he has a great video series, and I highly recommend it. And finally, Hermit the Crab. It's a husband-wife team who experienced engine seizure on their way home after buying their Jaguar manual V6. And so they go through the saga of a total engine swap. But top-notch, lots of diagrams from the Jaguar manuals, and all the torque spec for all the bolts. Great reference, worth the watch. I recently had an ATB-equipped rear differential returned to me because of a bad pinion seal, which is a typical problem on these units. So the owner and I took an opportunity to reassess the gear ratio, and originally he moved from a 3.31 to a 3.15, which was a 5% reduction in RPM on the highway. He wanted to go further, though, so we opted to pursue a path where we investigated the 2.73 gear ratio from an XF Jaguar. That represented an 8% reduction in RPM on the highway. And it turned out the Quaife ATB fit. And so here's the application table showing you where the Quaife ATB can cover various gear ratios. If you recall from part 2 of the series, I did discover a bunch of rust in the V section of my engine. And to allow water to drain out, I did modify the block by drilling a hole in the corner, which then allows the water to vent out underneath the engine. But the real question is how to prevent water from ever getting into the V section in the first place. And we have to look to the hood vents, particularly on the cars up to 2020, which have the hood vents right over the cam covers. Now, I wouldn't want to run with the engine covers attached. This is due to retained heat, which leads to premature engine and component wear. So I did put the engine cover back on, and it looks like it's about 80% effective at keeping the water out of the V section. And of course, the can cover noise shields also help. But this is not a preferred solution for me. I really wanted to reduce retained heat in the engine. So I decided to go with rainwater diverters mounted underneath the hood. I selected some ABS plastic about 0.1 inch thick or 2.5 millimeter. And I made a pattern, and I cut it out, and I bent it up on a nichrome hot wire system. I had some scrap wood and bits and bobs from the hardware store, and I powered it with my battery charger. So it's about 12 volts. 3.5 ohms spread over 1.5 feet or half a meter, and it pulled somewhere between 3 to 4 amps, so that's around 30 to 40 watts. It worked pretty well, and so far after mounting them it seems to be working, and there's no water accumulation in the V section anymore, so that's good. Job done. And that concludes today's video on the Y pipe upgrade, as well as the ATB fitment chart, and also the rain diverter to avoid water from getting into the V of your engine, especially if you're running without the engine cover or the cam cover noise suppression pads. So I hope you've enjoyed the content, and thanks for joining me on this automotive journey and applying tasteful modifications to enhance the experience of driving your Jaguar cars. Hey, so all the best. I do have a autocross event coming up at the end of June, as well as another track event with my son and friends in August. So I'm looking forward to those. I'll probably get some new rubber on the car as well in that time frame. So we'll see how it goes. Either way, thanks for joining me. And remember, my friends, drive well.